Is 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay. Rep your city. Let me see the mic. Rep your city. Give me the mic. Rep your city. I got you. Rep your city. I'm gonna tell you now, man. Rep your city.
It's time for us to go live, so rep your city. I really would appreciate if y'all roll with me. Feeling this music cause it makes me wanna step. And if you don't want to, then you lying to yourself. Cause every time we party, we gon' have fun. I don't know about you, but I'ma rep where I'm from.
Rep your city. Okay. Rep your city. Let me see the mic. Rep your city. Give me the mic. Rep your city.
Welcome to the RYC Live show this evening. I am Artistic, your host for tonight, and this is Rep Your City, RYC Live. This is the RYC Live show, Rep Your City, and this is the Throwback Thursday tonight. So as usual, we do what we do. We try to bring you knowledge and history and entertainment. And as we normally do, we have a guest tonight. Tonight we have a guest, a special guest, another legend actually in Chicago's entertainment and activities, throughout the city. But this time we're going to be highlighting the house culture, and all of the other activities in relation to the house culture, because Chicago is definitely known for its various creative genres, not only hip hop, but house. And, we have a very historical background with other genres of music. But tonight we're going to talk about the house culture and history. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest for tonight. She is a woman of many hats, many hats, many talents. She's really a go-getter. And I just met her recently, and yet, I've watched and looked at some of her history on her YouTube channel, and, all these links that she has, various places that she is at, being present, just being busy, and that's how we do in Chicago. We are overlooked a lot, but we are hard workers. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce none other than the one and only Mother Diva. Let's bring her right on in. There she is. There she is. Welcome to the RYC Live show this evening.
Well, I am so excited to be on your show, Artistic. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we're honored to have your presence with us tonight. So we're going to get right into it. Let me just put up your name here so people can know. There we are.
My show.
Yeah, Mother Diva's house. So let's get right into it.
Mother Diva's house.
and we're going to talk about that. I want you to explain that very shortly. But let's go back to the beginning of you getting involved in the house culture here in Chicago. When did you start in this genre or this culture of dance?
So briefly, when I was 10 years old, I used to listen to the Hot Mix 5 on WBMX. And it was called Saturday Night Live, Ain't No Jive Chicago Dance Party. And I remember distinctively listening to it while I was watching SNL, which was Saturday Night Live. So I had to go Saturday Night Lives. I had the comedy, and then I had this dance music. Now, at that time, it had not been called house music as of yet. It was in its birthing stages. And I remember when I was 11, well, when I was 10, we used to live in Lake Grove Village, me and my mom. And then we moved downtown to 600 South Dearborn, which was known as the transportation building.
Okay.
And I lived directly, and the reason why this is so important is because I lived directly across the street from Import Records.
Wow.
And I used to go over there and buy all of this house and dance music. And I remember Tony Mandaka, who was the assistant manager. I didn't know who the people were that worked there, but I ran into him in 2005 at the Chosen Few picnic when it was on the Midwest Plaza place right there, right next to the museum. And he said, "You were the little girl that used to come into imports." And I was like, "Oh my God, you remember me?" He said, "You were the only little girl coming in there buying music." And so my neighbor, she asked me to DJ her party because she loved my extensive music collection. And I'm like this little kid at somebody's party playing cassette tapes and playing one record behind another because I didn't know how to DJ. I just was playing music. So So fast forward, I grow up in house music. I went to Sullivan High School, then I transferred to Kenwood, and then I graduated from Cosmopolitan. And I would see these signs on the poles for different parties. And one DJ stood out, and that was Steve Still Curly. And he really stood out to me. And so when I moved to LA, because I moved to LA in 1988 to pursue a career in film and television production, I remember hearing his music in the clubs. And sometimes I didn't even know these were his remixes, but the one album that stood out to me was I knew Steve had really made it when he did Keep On Walking, that album by CeCe Peniston, because it was R&B dance music. And I was like, oh my God, Steve So Curly has really grown up. Right. So fast forward, I moved back to Chicago in 1999 and started building my production company and all of the things that I wanted to do here in Chicago, still keeping my LA base because I go back and forth between Chicago and Los Angeles. And in 2003, Ron Carroll, who's a DJ and a music producer, he's also a singer. I met Ron back in 1994. When I used to come to Chicago, I frequented a lot of the LGBTQ clubs, and people said I looked like Martha Wash. So I would perform as a Martha Wash tribute artist. And so he invited me to his birthday party. So I go to his birthday party and I'm dancing and having a good time. And I hear him on the microphone and he's like, "I want to thank my guest DJ Steve Silk." And I like froze. I'm like, "Is this Steve Silk Hurley?" Okay. I'm like, "No, it can't be." So I run up to the DJ booth. I'm banging on the door. "Let me in, Ryan Carroll." He was like, "What is going on?" I said, "You're not talking about Steve Silk Hurley, are you?" He was like, "Yes." I was like, "Where is he?" He was like standing right there looking at you like you crazy. And Steve was scared to death. And I was like, "Ah!" I just started screaming like a little girl. And I was like, "Oh my God, do you know who you are?" And I'm just grabbing him and hugging him. And I'm like, "I love your music. Your music saved my life." And and I was so excited. And I started working with him. So that was the beginning of me working in house music. And I started working with him as doing promotions for his events. I met Farley a year later at Maurice Joshua's Grammy party, because for those of you who don't know, Maurice Joshua won a Grammy for Best Remix for Beyonce's Crazy in Love. So I meet Farley. And I just started meeting them and working with them. And what I brought to house music was media, because one of the things that it lacked was whenever a person like yourself, you put together a party, you don't think to call the media. Well, let's send out press releases and call the newspapers and the news so they can come out and cover it. So I brought media into the scene. And even Steve told me, he said, if we had a Mother Diva back then, house would probably be way bigger than what it is. So that's kind of, I'm not like everybody else, I kind of started at the top. Most people start at the bottom and work their way up. I mean, I started at the bottom and worked my way up in other aspects of my career. But when it came to house, I started at the top. Steve Silk Hurley had already been nominated for 4 Grammys. He was the president of the Chicago chapter of the Grammys. He was working with Oprah Winfrey show. He had done so much. So to start my house music career with him, that's almost like starting a career with Michael Jackson. He's like the Michael Jackson of, as a pioneer. And in fact, he remixed Michael Jackson's Remember the Time and Jam. Okay. So that's how I started working in house music. And I basically started bringing media to it. I started throwing my own parties. And then I got connected with Daily Plaza. And I wanted to do something a little different. As I continued in my career with house music, I wanted to bring other elements to it. So I produced the first comedy house music set, which was in 2007 at the Wiley at the golf course here in Flossmoor, where it was very successful. And I just started working with the city of Chicago, the summer dance DJ sets, and I began hosting with the DJs. And I noticed that house did not have what you call it, they didn't really have a mascot or an image. So I started wearing these house necklaces. I said, well, you know what? We need to have some type of image, some type of brand. So I found these houses and I started wearing them, and then eventually I upgraded them and started blinging them out. My mother actually made my first bling house because she's a seamstress, and so we just started blinging them out. And I wore my first bling house out to the Grammys because I was, because of Steve, I was able to get connected to the Grammys and join the Grammys and become a member. I'm no longer a member, but I was a member back then. I kind of exposed them for some conspiracy problems. The Grammys are not fair, as you know. The Weeknd was having some problems with them, and they ended up getting, which I predicted several years ago that they should have gotten a woman president. They ended up getting a woman to be the president and CEO, and then they messed her over. It was a big mess. But we can talk about that on another show. So I started blinging out the houses, and I've sold some. I know Marshall Jefferson bought 2 from me, and he wears them all over in England. And for those of you that don't know Marshall made the house music anthem, Move Your Body, which is known all over the world. And it's been played at sporting events and everything. So as I moved forward and started doing events at Daily Plaza, I noticed that a lot of the DJs and people in house music were developing health problems. And so I wanted to do something a little different. And I said, you know what? I would like to turn my platform into house and electronic dance music, health and wellness DJ sets, where we would give out information about detoxing and reversing different health conditions. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Of course, COVID popped up and we haven't been able to be at Daily Plaza other than doing commentaries. But hopefully sometime this year I can get back to it. It was a free venue, and now they're charging everybody because they didn't make any money last year on the paid events. So now it's very expensive to produce something at Daily Plaza. But hey, I know some rich folks, they got to write Mother Diva a check.
Now, let me ask you, here's a question. What year was that you began or met with Steve Silk Hurley?
That was 2003.
Okay.
That was in April, because Ron's birthday is in April. It was April of 2003, and I believe it was at this place up north. I don't know if it was a Comfort Zone. The Rails used to do something up there. I can't remember the name of it, but I know I took the train all the way from Flossmoor into the city, and it went all the way up north because I loved me some Ron Carroll. So I support all plus size DJs and music producers.
Interesting.
And I actually got introduced to the Miami Music Week through Steve Hurley. I met DJ Paul Johnson, who made the Get Down song. He's in the wheelchair. And I just fell in love with him. And so I was like chasing him and found out he was going to Miami. I said, well, I'm going to go too. So that's how I ended up meeting all of these international DJs. And so I'm kind of known around the world with the house and everything, because I travel to Miami every year for Miami Music Week. And I met like all of the international DJs. And so they all know me. So it's just a build, and you got to keep yourself out there and keep reinventing yourself.
Yes. Okay. Well, what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll pick up where we left off.
Honey, you better pay those bills.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. You're watching the RYC Live Show. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we will be right back.
Are you tired of shopping for wigs in the back of a beauty supply store? At Random Glam Wigs and Accessories, we give wig lovers the shopping experience they deserve. Personal attention in a chic boutique atmosphere. Fabulous wigs and unique accessories, all at affordable prices. Try on as many wigs as you like. Our friendly glam consultants will be happy to help you find the perfect look to fit your lifestyle. Be a glamazon and discover Random Glam Wigs and Accessories. We are conveniently located at 7207 South Exchange Avenue in the historic South Shore District. Shop where you're appreciated and get the personal attention you deserve. Visit us online at randomglam.com. Random Glam Wigs and Accessories, 7207 South Exchange Avenue.
Welcome back to the RYC Live Show this evening. And we have our special guest, Mother Diva, in the house.
All right, yeah. That wig commercial, honey, I would go over there and check them out.
So let's talk a little bit about your house. So What made you come up with that concept?
Well, because as I stated earlier, I noticed that the community did not have a brand. They didn't have, like in hip hop has a brand. They have clothes, they have shoes, they have hats, they have t-shirts, they've branded themselves. Like you can basically tell by the way someone dresses that they're into hip hop. Okay. So I wanted to give house music the same branding. If you go back to 2005, when I started wearing these houses, we didn't have house music cups that said house music, or hats, t-shirts at that time. They didn't have any of that stuff. And there was no gear. You know, there was nothing in our community that branded us. So I said, well, I want to give our community a brand. So I just started like Flavor Flav, you know, he wears a clock. And I said, well, Mother Diva will wear a house to represent house music. And so it's been 16 years that I've been wearing this house. In fact, I was at the cipher that Sam I Am had last Saturday, because I went to see Queen Zenobia, and Gizzo was there, and he said, "Where's your house?" And I ran out the house and accidentally left it. He said, "You can't go anywhere without that house." Yeah, it's very rare that I leave it. I normally don't leave it. And I don't wear it everywhere. I don't wear it to the grocery store. I don't wear it to Bible class, you know, unless I'm trying to, you know, sometimes I equate this with Jeremiah 31:31, where it says, I will make a covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, you know, but I mostly just wear it for my TV show and then out to events.
Okay. Now, what is the house made of?
Well, it's basically plastic. There's a company called Blue Box Toys out of Asia, and I think they're in Japan. And what happened, I used to buy the houses at Walgreens, because a lot of people were trying to figure out where I got them, and I wouldn't tell them, but Walgreens doesn't sell them anymore. So when I first started buying the houses, I was buying them from Walgreens, and then Walgreens stopped selling them. But I looked at the manufacturer, and it was Blue Box Toys. So I reached out to them, and over in the Asian countries, I don't know if it was Japan or China. I believe it might have been Japan. And I called over there, because I always made sure I had international calling on my landline, because, you know, when you're dealing with EDM and house, it's all over the world. And so I called and asked them, where could I get the houses? Can they send me some? And they just really stopped manufacturing. So I did find some online from like various websites that sell, you know, old stuff. And it's just plastic, and they come in different colors, and they actually have little toys that come with them. They have like the furniture and the little people that go inside the house, you know, and I usually just give that stuff away to kids. And then I basically just, you know, paint them and bling them out and put the stones, the rhinestones, and different things. Now, this is actually my off the wall house, because it has a little bow tie like Michael Jackson wore on the Off the Wall album. I have a Prince house. I have a gold house. You know, girl gotta have a lot of houses.
Nice, nice. We actually got a comment that came in, and I want to read this comment here. This is a comment from my homeboy Taco Bob Ski, and he says, I met House Diva at the Shabadoo tribute. I didn't get to tell her that Taco Bob's was a part of the Hip Hop Syndicate, the first group from Chicago to make a music video played on BET and MTV, along with Farley Jackmaster Funk.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, Taco Bob hit me up. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was the young man that was there in the wheelchair?
Yes.
Yes, he did. He sent me a message, and we didn't get a chance to talk.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we got to talk about Shab. You know, Shab has kind of brought me back into the hip hop scene, because I have been out of hip hop for a long time. And, you know, just to give you my background in hip hop, back in 2002, I started managing a comedian. He's moved out to Las Vegas. And I was at a lot of the comedy shows, and I ended up meeting Dion Cole and Lil Rel and Leon Rogers, and a lot of the comedians that are really, really famous now, I knew them back in the early 2000s. And some of them were, Dion is a DJ. He comes home sometimes and plays house music, spins house music.
Okay.
And so, but comedy had always been connected to hip hop with the Def Jam comedy and all of that. So as I traveled out and would go to various events, I connected with a gentleman named Kevin Shine, and he would always have these industry events. And then that had kind of connected me with ASCAP, which is American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, which I definitely want to make sure that a lot of the artists or your viewers that are rappers and musicians that, they are signing up, they're getting their publishing companies and joining either ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, which are known as PROs, which are performing rights organizations, so they could get their royalties. And so they would have these events, and I met all these wonderful hip hop artists and rappers, and even interviewed some of them. I met Shauna. I met some of the people that work with Puffy. And Shauna's from Chicago as well. She's an excellent rapper. So basically what happened was I started kind of managing some rappers. Deshaun Love, who he was at the beginning of his career. I don't know what he's doing now, but I somehow connected with Kevin Maxey from WHBK, who would have the CTA radio show every Wednesday. So I used to take rappers up there. I never met JP Chill, but JP Chill and I used to talk on the phone from time to time. And I know he was really huge with the whole hip hop movement at HBK.
Yes, he was.
I'm sorry that he's retired now because I'm sure I miss him.
Yes.
But when I was a kid, I was very intrigued by the movie Breakin' and Breakin' 2. And so I love the break dancing and the pop locking. And I was able to do a little bit of it, myself and, kind of the robot thing. And, I was kind of getting into it. And so that's one of the things that I loved about hip hop was that the different elements, the graffiti, the pop locking, the break dancing, it was so much fun. And so I remember back in 2002, there was a lady named Nate who used to have the after school events every Thursday at the Promontory Point in Hyde Park. And it was like from 3:30 to 6:30 or something like that. And they had graffiti, they had poetry, they had rapping, and they had the break dancing. And I would take all these young children with me. In fact, I used to take my little cousin, and one of my cousins now, Dejon Gordon, I used to take him over there. He plays for Kansas State now, so he's going to be like the next Michael Jordan. He's a beast with that ball. So, because remember, 2002 is almost 20 years, I mean, next year to be 20 years. So it was so interesting that how I was so excited to meet you and everyone that came to Shab's event, because it kind of got me back into the scene. And when I used to take the children back in 2002 there, and then the program stopped. And this is what is so hurtful, that we have these wonderful programs for our youth, and then the funding gets cut, and then it stops, and then you get upset because it's like all this violence going on. But you got to give these kids something to do. You got to let them express themselves. And sure, children are supposed to know better. They shouldn't get into trouble. But unfortunately, we live in a society where that can happen. And so if we have enough programs to keep them occupied, they won't have time to think about picking up a gun or a knife or hurting or drugs or gangbanging and hurting somebody, because they're just too busy. They're in like class after class after class after class. So with the interesting thing, Artistic, honestly, if Shabba-Doo, and it's just so unfortunate, but if Shabba-Doo hadn't passed away, I probably would not be so interested in coming back into the scene, because now I feel like it's my responsibility to continue Shab's legacy. And so that's kind of been my goal, to continue Shab's legacy. And what you talk about divine intervention, when Shab first passed away, I had interviewed him a month before, because Soul Train, which started in Chicago, in August. It was August 17th, 1970 was the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And last year was 50 years of Soul Train. So I put together a tribute show, and I had Linda Clifford on. I had Frida Payne because they had appeared on Soul Train. And I had Sly from the Sly, Slick, and Wicked. He came on. And I had the director who actually directed the first season of Soul Train. He was in his 20s. He's in his 70s now. And he showed the script. And I said, I got to get Shab on the show. So
Mm-hmm.
I called Shab like kind of last minute, and he couldn't come into the live feed for technical problems. But then he was able to come in, call into the show. So I said, well, listen, the city of Chicago honored me with my own holiday, and I'd like to pay it forward and honor you with a holiday. And he was really excited about it. And then a month later, it's like he passed away, and I'm like, that's like, fuck. Can I curse?
No.
No, is it okay? Can I use profanity on your show?
Yeah, we like to try to keep it clean.
Well, that messed me up really bad. So, when he first passed away, I did a commentary where I cut the section of the interview out, and I did a small commentary. I connected with his sister Fawn, and she came on. I did a tribute on my show, and I had the whole the cast and crew of Breaking and Breaking 2 to come on. The director came on. I had a Boogaloo Shrimp on who played Turbo. Also, Phineas Newborn III, who was in the first Breaking. Sam Furstenberg, who was the director of Breaking 2, and Toy Overton, who was part of Firefox, who sung the Radiotron song. She came on, and then of course Fawn, and then Shab's manager. It was a beautiful show. It was only supposed to be an hour, ended up being 3 hours.
Wow.
And so I was talking to Fawn, and I said, well, Fawn wanted to have something public because the other part of the family just wanted to do something private. And I said, well, Shab is a public person. We need to do something public for him. So I said, well, listen, my 50th birthday is coming up in February. I said, I can just turn my birthday into a memorial for him. And I mean, it was weird doing that, but it was like, because a lot of people said, you are really a beautiful person to turn your birthday into a funeral, and it's something that artistic I've been doing since 2014. When I started House at Daily Plaza, the first one we did was a memorial tribute to Frankie Knuckles. Because when I started house music there, I booked my shows in January of 2014. We didn't know Frankie was going to die. Frankie passed in March. So I felt it necessary to turn it into a tribute to him. So I wanted to just make it a tribute to Shabba-Doo, and that's what we did. And then we had the Soul Train dancers come and speak because they didn't have an opportunity to, say things, memorialize him. His sister came. We had a pop, lock, and break dance, a good time. The LA Breakers were there. Dr. Sherlyn Lee, who was Michael Jackson's personal nurse, who's my holistic doctor, she came. It was beautiful. And I said, you know what? I need to keep doing this because I just have so much fun with these break dances and these young kids. They just keep me young, And so I made an announcement there that on May 11th, now at the time, we had not gotten Shab's holiday. I was trying to get the holiday. And so I said, well, we're going to celebrate on his birthday in Chicago, either way. And I wanted to get him a street sign, but we just didn't have enough time. The street signs take time. Yes. So I connected with Harv Roman, who was a friend of Shab's here in Chicago. And he was, he just was amazing. He actually connected with Daniel LaSpada, the alderman in the first ward, and actually got the street sign passed for next year.
Nice.
So what people have to understand is that Shab grew up in Ward 27, which is where Division and Houston, where the Cabrini Green is. That's Alderman Barnett. So both Alderman Barnett and Alderman LaSpada came together for us to do the holiday. And so, but he went to school in the first ward. So that's why we can put the street sign in the first ward. But what I still would like to do in the 27th ward, somewhere near Division and Halsted, is to have some kind of monument, maybe some graffiti or something. And Milt Coronado is so amazing. He came down and painted this wonderful picture. And you know, what's so interesting is that I thought about reaching out to some of my house music DJs that also spin hip hop. And my just the spirit just was like, no, find somebody else. So I asked Milt, I said, well, Milt, do you know any hip hop DJs who can come and spin and be a part of this? And then he referred me to Most Definitely. And so Most Definitely, I reached out to him and I called him, and he is so funny. He calls me young lady. He drives me crazy with this hey, young lady, how you doing? You know, at first it was like, okay, you know, I'm feeling good now. But then after a while, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm just as grown as you, Most Definitely.
That's just Most.
I know, Most he's a character. But so what happened was, you know, by Most being involved, it brought out all of you all. I met little Ron and Pop and Chuck, and I was almost in tears because of what it brought out for me. And I was so happy you called me the night before, and I was so happy to meet you. And Pop and Chuck, and what was the other young man that came on, Taco Pops?
Taco Pops.
Yes. I mean, to meet them, and then I think Gizzo came down, and it was so beautiful. And then to have Toy Overton, who was actually in the movie there, and she got to pop locking and breakdancing, and then Brave Monk, he was amazing with it. I'm still waiting on him to send me the footage. Brave Monk, send me the footage so we can put the show together.
Yes,
Now, Queen Zenobia, oh my God, I was so happy to see her because we run in the same circles, but this was the first time I actually had a chance to spend time with her. And now I'm like working with her. And then she invited me to come to the Cypher. And then I met Sam I Am and some of the other rappers. And I'm like, because I'm building something artistic, what we talked about, I'm building something that I want to do at Daily Plaza.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. Okay.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. You were talking about you know, because we got a lot of people that we run across and we connect with.
Yes.
But you know, it's interesting. And by the way, I want to thank you too for putting that event together for Shab, because I think it was definitely needed. And as you said, great things came out of it. And we're still working towards some more things in the future. So, you know, but now when you think about like how all of this works, you know, because I want to highlight before, you know, our time run out, I want to highlight a few more of the other things that you did or that you have done, you know, in the past. So let's talk a little bit about, I wanted to show a short video. I want the viewers to see this, but this was a piece where you were on stage dancing with Sir Nose and George Clinton. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh
my God! No, you
didn't. Let's take a look at this real quick so we can show the viewers, and then you can talk about it a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. There we go.
That was so
Now, that was very interesting because, you know, I stumbled across that and, you know, I was very.
There's a story with that. You don't know what I went through that
night. Yeah, you know, and I think that's the beauty. That's kind of, hold on, let me just get rid of this.
Okay.
That's the beauty behind.
You went in the crates, honey, has been investigating me.
But you know, that's really nice because, you know, I was just thinking about how important it is to be active in other areas.
Yeah.
And you know, George Clinton was a big, you know, he was a big part of the funk era. And you know what I'm saying? And that also had wraps around hip hop. You know, so you know, I mean, you know,
let me briefly tell you this because I also want to get into this conversation about you and I when we first started talking, and I actually heard you because I was listening to some of your interviews, and back in the day, you know, you talked about how we didn't have any record labels in Chicago that were looking into getting hip hop. We had two record labels here, which was Trax Records and DJ International, which was house music, and they refused to take any hip hop artists. So I definitely want to get into that. How that happened with George Clinton. Okay, once again, going back to working in house music, I met George Clinton in Miami. And I hate to plug these people because they're terrible. It was called the Winter Music Conference. We call it the worst music conference now. So I met him and I told him, I said, what you doing hanging out with Screaming Rachel? You know she a crook. You know, so I'm just bold like that, right? So I kind of met George through Rachel. Well, I had a DJ colleague of mine here in Chicago who wanted to do a compilation CD. And George had been very adamant about people taking his music and sampling it. And he wanted people to come to him directly. So I told my DJ colleague, I said, listen, don't take his music and just put it on a CD and sell it. I said, because that's illegal. You shouldn't do that. There's a lot of bootleg CDs going around. And it's important that you do it the right way. Because if you do it the right way, you can end up making more money. And if you're just on the corner selling CDs, you can't, you know, you ain't gonna sell 1 million copies on the corner, you know. Right. So I found out that George was in town and I went down there and I tried to get my way. I went from being outside, not being able to get in, to dancing on stage with him. And I have to thank Screaming Rachel for that. You know, even though it's some issues with Trax Records and DJ International with them, just I'm gonna tell you something artistic. In a way, it's a blessing that you guys were not signed at the time because those labels ended up being very crooked to a lot of house music DJs, a lot of house artists. And I'm going to tell you something. I truly believe one of the reasons why they didn't sign hip hop artists is because hip hop people ain't no punk. They will beat your ass. You know, right. You're not going to mess up over a hip hop artist and not get your ass whooped. Okay, people in house music are not violent. They're not gonna run up on you like that. You have some from the west side and the south side that might, you know, because I had to stop Adonis from getting on a plane when I told him, you know, somebody had remixed his song and he was like, well, I'm coming out. I said, no, you can't come out here. You know, he's from the west side. But what happens when it comes to rejection, when something is rejected, something beautiful ends up being born out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you and I had that conversation that the hip hop artists couldn't get signed in Chicago, and let's go back, because back in the day, Michigan Avenue was known as Record Row. You had Warner Records, you had Cadillac Records, but all of that was like blues and jazz. Okay. Steeltown Records over in Gary, Indiana, which actually was the first record label to sign the Jackson 5. And then you also had VJ Records, which was the first American label, which was African American owned, that signed the Beatles. A lot of people don't even know about that. But then when hip hop came into shape and form and came on the scene, you didn't have major record labels that even had offices here until later on. You know, maybe the late 80s and 90s, they started building offices in Chicago. But Trax Records and DJ International refused the hip hop community. And because of the refusal, Hip House was born. It's like, well, if you can't get a record deal with rapping, let's just rap to house music. And now we got Hip House, and now we got artists like Fast Eddie, you know, that's doing it. See, so the beauty that came out of that was Hip House, and the safety that came out of that is y'all didn't have to whoop nobody's ass.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
Hip hop ain't no punk. I ain't no punk either. I ain't got no problem fighting. I'll fight and whoop somebody's ass too. But you know, I mean, because you got to be fair in this. But it's all about education. There's so many layers to this business. What, you know, one of the first things when artists go in a studio, the one thing that they don't do, and there's an interview I did with Candy Burris, and we talked about this, is that when you go in a studio and you want to lay down some tracks and you in the studio in your creative mode, you're in creative mode, you're not in business mode. The first thing that you're supposed to do when you go into the studio with somebody to start working on tracks is a split sheet. You need to do a split sheet before you put pen to paper, write anything, because you all have to make a decision at that point. How much of this song am I contributing? How much are you contributing? You need to get them percentages. You need to get all that stuff straight. Hey, Tago, that's my guy. You need to get all that stuff straight before you get into creative mode. And a lot of artists do that. And when you don't do that, then you end up all these lawsuits and, oh, they took my song and I wrote 5 words and it turns out to be a mess. Because why? You didn't put that condom on when you went in there. You didn't have no protection. See?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, you know. But real quickly, we got 12 minutes. So let's talk a little bit about, I got a few pictures I wanted to highlight, and we can talk about it briefly. This is a person that I want you to share a little, you know, Tony Sheldon.
Yes.
Tony Sheldon.
Tony Shelton is known as Disco Tony, and she was a party promoter, and she's done so much. In fact, she was a publicist out in LA, and she did a lot of work with major celebrities in Los Angeles. I know she did some things with Will and Jada, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, you know, back in the day. And she actually lives in California, but she's here so much. And I actually assisted her team with having an event at Daily Plaza. So that's the picture that we took.
Nice.
And that house, I actually sat on that house and broke it.
Oh, wow.
I was so mad that I broke that house. But she came to my 5-year anniversary. I felt so honored that she came out to my 5-year anniversary when I was honored with a holiday from Mayor Emanuel. And she said, I wouldn't have missed this for the world. And that just really touched me. She's a beautiful person, and I adore her.
Nice. Here's another one.
Oh, First Lady. Oh, another queen who is just amazing, who is a radio personality, an excellent DJ. And I adore her. And, you know, of course, she's one of my plus size sisters. So, you know, like the big girls, give it up for the big girls. You know, we rock.
Yeah. Now, here's a nice shot I thought was pretty cool.
Yes, that was the day that
Okay.
And so John McIntyre, who's standing behind me, he's holding up a picture of Farley with Michael Jackson's mother. What it was, there was a story that we did. It was called "The King of House Music Meets the King of Pop's Mother," and we had an opportunity to meet Mrs. Jackson. And so Keith Jackson, who is the cousin to the Jackson that lives in Gary, he wrote a congratulatory letter to Farley when Farley got his street sign, which was May 2nd, 2014. I'll never forget because it was freezing cold that day. I don't know why it was so cold in May. It was cold at Shab's event. May sometimes be a little cold in the beginning. Right. And so the news was out there, and I just spoke about how when Farley and I connected and we started getting the media and the news out to a lot of these house music events, and I actually presented Farley with a precious metal coin. I think the coin, it was a coin that had Michael Jackson's face on it. So because I'm into teaching people about building wealth and getting into investing in gold and silver and getting coins and building a coin collection.
Okay.
Yeah, we talk about that too at Daily Plaza.
Nice. Tego said, "Hey, Valencia."
Yeah, that's my guy.
And then Taco Bob's made another comment. He says, "I was Fast Eddie's hype guy for over 25 years."
Wow, he's got a lot of history. I have to get on my show. Yeah. But I know before we close, because I have to say this, I want to make sure that the artists, recording artists that are watching this, because I know you have a lot of rappers in your scene. Mm-hmm. It is important that they join the Musicians Guild. That is the union for musicians, because rappers and DJs are considered musicians. You join and they offer protection. You need to get your passport. Somebody may want you to go overseas. Make sure you have a passport. There's a whole world outside of 63rd, outside of the North Side. You want to make sure your music is protected. Also, for those that have music out, you want to connect with some of the advertising agencies to try to get your music placed. A lot of artists and musicians blow up because of music placement. Their music is in a commercial. It's in a television show. It's in a movie. Video games. Yes. Music and video games are really big. And in order to do that, you need to connect with music supervisors. And in order to do that, you got to get a music agent. So these are things that I teach. I have online seminars. I have one-on-one packages that I sell. I teach this. Also, I teach body insurance. You're going to be on stage. You're running around, you're rapping and all this, and you can trip and fall and hurt yourself. You need to insure your body, because your voice, who you are as an artist, is what you're selling. So you can hurt yourself. Just like you have home insurance, car insurance, you want to get body insurance. So that's very important.
Interesting. Now, before we conclude, Mother Diva, what kind of additional advice that you'd like to close out with to any up-and-coming artists out there today?
Practice your craft, study the greats, and become greater. This is, I went to the school of Michael Jackson, and me and his daughter are very close, her Paris, and I learned just by listening to a lot of his interviews. Michael always looked for the best. He always would try to find the best in everything that he did. It was either dancing or music, vocal coaches. He only worked with the top people. And now, even though he's passed on, I've connected with the people that he worked with. So a lot of the people that I try to work with, if you worked with Michael Jackson, I want to work with you, because he only picked the best. So look for the best in everything that you're trying to do. Because you have some people that just want to be local. And if that's all you want to do is be local and not maximize your potential, another thing I have to say, you got to take a spiritual laxity. You got to cleanse all of the negativity out of your life. You cannot have people in your life that are not with you, that are not trying to maximize their potential. People maximize their potential, but also with what you're trying to do. You want people around you that want to climb with you. Because unfortunately, especially in Chicago, and we had this conversation before, people are always trying to pull you down. They don't want to unify and come together and we all help each other. It's all of this blockage. You know, sometimes I'm used to picking up the phone, calling somebody, say, hey, artistic, you know, I'm doing a show. Can you recommend some rappers for the cipher or whatever? And then you just tell me, but then you got other people like, well, this person can't do this person won't do that, and all that, you know, they give you all this drama. Like, if I'm gonna get drama, I can just go to a talent agency and get everything I need. You know, but if I only go to agencies, then I won't be able to have the opportunity to get unsung people, raw, uncut people like Sam I Am. Oh my God, Sam I Am is a treasure. He is amazing. I was so blessed to meet him. And I look forward to working with him. I mean, to me, he is going to be the next big thing that comes out of Chicago as far as hip hop. He's amazing. I adore him, you know. And all I want to do artistic from the bottom of my heart is give back to the community, educate the community, and help save lives and help heal people. You know, that's my goal. And one of my other goals is to open. I got two things I'm trying to do now, and I want to get the tobacco companies to pay for it. I want 24-hour community centers, and I want an overnight video game bus. And the bus will drive around the community from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and let kids come on that's on the street and play nonviolent video games. We got to do something to curb this violence. You know, everybody has this conversation, but no one comes up with a solution.
Yeah. Now, where can for all the viewers that's watching, where can they contact you? Where's your
okay, so they can go to Facebook and go to Mother Diva's house and send me a message and like the page. I'm also Instagram, Mother Diva's house. I'm on Twitter is Mother Diva Show. Mother Diva's house was too long for Twitter. So I'm Mother Diva Show on Twitter. And just Google me. I mean, all my information is out there. My phone number, my email address. I mean, I'm open to, you know, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we're going to conclude, but I would like for you to stay on. Don't log off just yet, because we're going to meet backstage and just conclude, chop it up just a little bit. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I got a few announcements to make, and then we're going to close off. We got like 2 minutes left.
All right.
So, so we thank you, Mother Diva, for coming on the show. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you, and just share a little bit of your history.
Can I plug something? Okay, next Friday, June 25th, we're having Love Never at the Michael Jackson Museum in Gary, Indiana. It's 4008 Massachusetts Street. So make sure you guys come out. It's going to be from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I'll have the flyer out. I'll send you the flyer.
Okay, cool. So with that being said, we have just a few announcements to make. Actually, this weekend, we will be having a event for a lot of the graffiti artists here in Chicago. And this is going to be up north. It's going to be this Saturday and Sunday, June 19th and June 20th, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And basically, it's to kind of highlight and represent Father's Day. It's hosted by Peppo, who is an old school graffiti artist. And then there's going to be other old school graffiti artists out there this weekend. And the DJs lineup is really nice, too. We got DJ Nonstop and Most Definite, E-Double, DJ Illinois, and Sean Rocca. So if you all get a chance, you can please come out to take a look at the artist paint. There'll be obviously barbecuing out there and music will be playing. So it should be a pretty nice, fun event this weekend for those that may want to come and check it out. And then also, too, next month, we're going to be honoring the Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Month for the entire month of July. So this is going to be honoring and highlighting all the elements of Chicago hip hop. And this was approved since 2003 by the Chicago or the City Council of Chicago. And you know, we want to encourage everyone to come out and show your support. Bring some stuff if you like. Come out and tell and curate some of your own history. This is a new logo that was created. We're going to get some T-shirts made with this logo on it. So so if you get a chance to be one of the first 25 people to get the shirt, you will definitely have a piece of our new history. Chicago Hip Hop Heritage Month, number 18. This is number 18 since 2003. And then next Thursday, we'll be back here once again with another show. And this time we'll be doing a tribute for another fallen soldier, another legend of Chicago hip hop. He went by the name of IC. And he was definitely a very fascinating, very vocabulary, interesting MC here in Chicago. And this is some of the pictures, and we're going to highlight his history and his contributions. We'll have his family on tuning in, and obviously his friends and crewmates. So for those that are available next Thursday night at 8 p.m., June 24th, please check out the IC tribute right here live on the RYC Live show. And then we're looking forward to the new store that's going to be opening up July 3rd. So the grand opening for the House Music Store located at 1301 East 87th Street will be opening up July 3rd at 12 noon. So for all those house heads out there, Farley is going to give you something to come by and visit him and represent. So with that being said, this was definitely a good show. Once again, we want to thank you, Mother Diva, for coming on the show, taking out a little of your own time tonight to spend with us. And hey, you know, we look forward to having you on a future show later in the future.
Shouts out to little Ron. He was so sweet. He was trying to pay me for the food. I said, honey, this food is free.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Showing a little love in Chicago as usual. So with that being said, we'll catch you all back next week, same time, 8 p.m. on the RYC Live Throwback Thursday. And until then, you all don't forget to rep your city. I'm Artistic, and I'm out of here. Peace. Yeah. All right, y'all.